Okay, so this thought has been keeping me up at night for the past few days, and I have to get this off my chest. The Hulk in Marvel Rivals is not supposed to be Bruce Banner. Hulk is meant to be Amadeus Cho, but was changed to Bruce later on, probably because of Disney oversight or something. It's a crazy conspiracy theory, I know, but the more I look into the details of the Hulk, the more I truly believe that the Hulk was supposed to be Totally Awesome Hulk, and not the Incredible Hulk. Or I'm a crazy Cho fanboy who's reading way too much into things. This could also be true. For context on who Amadeus Cho even is, all that you really need to know for this video is that Amadeus was a Hulk supporting character that became Hulk around Civil War II, as a way to kind of write off Hulk since whatever side had Hulk would just win the war. So the main reason why this theory isn't completely insane and nonsense is that when we look at the broader scale of characters in Marvel Rivals, we can see a pattern. Heroes that have had an Asian character take up their mantle are represented by said Asian character. Psylocke isn't the one that we traditionally see in media, Elizabeth Braddock. She is instead Psy from Demon Days, an extremely obscure Asian character that like me and 10 other people would recognize. She's also the ancestor of Canon Sainuichi, the Psylocke of Ultimate X-Men. This is not relevant at all, but I will always shill new Ultimate X-Men whenever I get the chance since it's the best ongoing comic. And then we also have Iron Fist, who instead of being the way more known Daniel Rand, we instead have Lin Lee, who is fairly new to the role. I say that despite the fact Lin Lee has been Iron Fist for longer than he has been Swordmaster at this point, but I know that fact means literally nothing to you. From these two characters, there's a precedent that the most popular incarnations of a hero aren't always the one that gets represented in Rivals, so the Hulk not being Banner and instead as Amadeus is not exactly implausible. However, Lin Lee as Swordmaster is surprisingly relevant, as Marvel Rivals randomly has Luna Snow in the game, and I'm fairly certain that Luna was added because of her connections to Iron Fist and the Hulk, when the Hulk was Amadeus Cho. Because if you didn't know, they were all on the same team known as the Agents of Atlas. Or well, the new Agents of Atlas if you want to be more specific. Which is why Luna and Iron Fist have a team up, which is a bit wild because despite being on the same team, they have like no interactions in the comics. The Agents of Atlas is a very large team and Iron Fist tends to hang out with Shang-Chi, while Luna tends to hang out with Silk. However, Cho actually acts like an anchor and links the two groups together, as he has meaningful interactions with both of these characters. Because as in the game, the team is about the bonds of the new Agents of Atlas, despite the fact these two characters only share screen time on the cover arts and in this one scene at the very end of the first comic. Not to mention that the team up quote makes literally no sense for either character to say, because both Luna and Iron Fist were not recruited into the Agents of Atlas by Jimmy Woo. They were both field recruited by Amadeus Cho, who is the one who actually has connections with Jimmy. In fact, they missed all the Jimmy Woo team up speeches because he only gave them to the original members, Silk, Shang-Chi, and Amadeus. And it's also perfectly reasonable for Luna Snow's Frozen Chi to be Frozen Gamma. Speaking of team ups though, the Hulk is privileged with two team ups in Marvel Rivals. The one we're going to focus on for this is Gamma Charge, a team-up consisting of the Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Iron Man. Now, this group seems kind of random, but what if we were to just remove Hulk from the picture? Doctor Strange and Iron Man. That's part of Marvel's Illuminati, famously enemies of the Hulk, as they send him into space and cause Planet Hulk to happen and created Green Scar / Worldbreaker Hulk. Which means this team-up makes very little sense. Like, why is Bruce giving them powers? They are literally rivals. Now then, let's just pretend the Hulk is Amadeus. The team up now makes sense as Amadeus Cho was a member of the Illuminati. Okay, to be fair though, this is kind of a weak point and connection in this theory, since Bruce was also part of the Illuminati too, at the same time as Cho even. However, Banner was Doc Green at the time, and Doc Green's kind of a different person as Banner, so it's a bit more gray if Banner was actually part of the Illuminati. Also, for fairness sake, Cho wasn't Hulk at the time, so technically Hulk Cho was never part of the Illuminati, but at least in this case, it's still the same person. However, this could also just not be an Illuminati team-up, as other members of the Illuminati in the game, Black Panther, Reed, and Namor kind of, aren't included in this team-up, so the Illuminati connection could just be me looking way into things. Another maybe weaker point is Hulk's visual design in Marvel Rivals. Traditionally in media, Hulk has a more flat hairstyle, right? And in Rivals, Hulk's hairstyle is more up and spiky, which normally doesn't mean much because a lot of the characters look different from the common interpretations in Rivals. But it is very strange when Cho Hulk's main visual distinction is his upward spiky hair. Hey, isn't it also kinda strange that there's 3 stages of Hulk in Marvel Rivals? Bruce, Hero Hulk, and Monster Hulk? Since traditionally it's just Banner and Hulk as the two forms, and then a mix of the two sometimes with different personalities. And before you hear a word about Worldbreaker, that's just Green Scar. So even in that interpretation, it doesn't make sense. Worldbreaker Hulk is powerful since it's Banner and Hulk working together, but the ult's supposed to be Hulk taking full control. Man, if only there was a Hulk that normally had 3 distinctive forms, a human form, a Hero Hulk form, and a truly Monster Hulk form. Oh wait, that's literally Amadeus' Hulk. In fact, the 3 faces of Amadeus was a huge part of his story as Hulk and the whole dynamic of Totally Awesome Hulk. And then there's the Gamma Belt, which I can't exactly say is a Cho thing, but it's really Amadeus Cho coded if that makes sense. Visually, big green man with a belt is an Amadeus thing, and the processes behind the Gamma Belt is extremely similar to how Amadeus separated Banner from the Hulk and harnessed the power for himself. Not to mention Cho is known to have tech while in the Hulk form with his wrist device. However, it doesn't give him control of his transformation. Except for when it does when he's written by a different writer, so yeah, tech-based Hulk transformation is straight up a Cho thing. Man, it's crazy how so many things that make Hulk, and Marvel Rivals is a first time for Banner, but extremely on point for Amadeus Cho. It's almost like they were the same character at one point. But let's look more closely on that Monster Hulk form. It has its own ult, Worldbreaker. Checkmate, I guess I messed up since Monster Hulk is Green Scar / Worldbreaker Hulk. But like I said before, it's kinda counter flavor for the Hulk to have Worldbreaker and be seen as a monster, as Worldbreaker Hulk is famously Banner and Hulk working together. Not to mention that it's literally classified as a hero Hulk, which would be a strange detail to miss for a game that has such an eye for little details. But when we get to Amadeus' tenure, letting the monsters inside him fight the monsters of the world is what allows Amadeus to become the Worldbreaker. Cho's Monster Hulk is his Worldbreaker. It is letting the Hulk be a Monster Hulk that allows him that potential, which makes way more sense than the nurturing Father Hulk being known as the monster. Because of all this evidence, I'm like 80% sure the Hulk was supposed to be Amadeus Cho, but was replaced with Bruce at some point in the game's development. Other heroes have been represented by more obscure characters rather than the common traditional choice. The team-ups make way more sense with Amadeus rather than Bruce. Hulk's look is one that's more traditionally used by Amadeus, and Hulk's kit makes way more sense for Amadeus. However, there's also the chance I'm just a crazy person and I'm seeing connections that aren't actually there. And while I'm expert of all things Amadeus Cho, I'm not an expert on Bruce. There's just way too much to read. But be honest, a lot of things make way more sense if Amadeus is Hulk. Anyways, add Braun as a melee strategist, please, thank you. Some extra words since Season 2 changes were just announced as I was finishing this video. Gamma Charge is in fact an Illuminati thing since Namor was randomly added to it when Strange was removed. So watch out later in the season when Iron Man and Ultron gets a team up and they randomly add Mr. Fantastic or Black Panther to Gamma Charge. I also want to point out that in the comics, Amadeus has done the Worldbreaker ult as Braun, but Braun isn't Hulk, so it's out of the context of the main video, but that's just food for thought. And if anyone at NetEase is watching this, please publicly release your models. These exported models are heavy and hard to use, which is why I didn't have much animation in this video. Not to mention that they're already out there in the internet, and people are actually selling these models online. Okay, that's it I think. Bye.
It